If Daryl gets any closer to you than like an inch, you're in trouble. Hey guys, David here. I know that this video is uber late. As I explained in my Happy Halloween video, I mentioned that I had some computer trouble, so that explained my lack of videos, and that explained my lag in Walking Dead and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews. I couldn't keep up with the weekly episodes, but now my laptop is back, it got fixed, and now I'm here to go ahead and review episode 4 of The Walking Dead, Indifference. It's the episode that I managed to miss. And like I said, I know that this video is pretty late, as is the previous Walking Dead review for episode 3. But I figured, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and push out a quick review of episode 4 before we tackle episode 5. So here it goes. So last week we learned that Carol is the serial killer. She's not the serial killer, but she's the one who decided to take it upon herself to kill Karen and David because they're the ones who were sick, and in order to keep it from spreading, she killed them. Unfortunately, it was obviously futile because the disease managed to spread out throughout the prison. And half of this episode deals with Rick thinking of what he's going to do, what call he's going to make in reaction to Carol being the one who killed Karen and David without any sort of authorization from the rest of the council. Meanwhile, Daryl, Michonne, Tyrese, and Bob Stuckey, are trying to make their run in order to gather supplies, gather medicine to take back to the prison in order to be able to hopefully heal these sick people. And this is one of those episodes where you got two people making runs, and on their runs they develop as characters. They talk to one another. There's an awful lot of talking in this episode, so if you're not very tolerant of that, then you're probably going to find this episode boring. There were moments where I did wish for some more Walker action than the one we had here. In fact, some of the Walker action, as I'm calling it, wasn't exactly that tense, because the people who were in that situation, we kind of know that they're going to survive. I mean, they're serious regulars, so I mean, something may happen to them, but death will probably not be that. The only one that had any sort of resemblance to possibly being killed off was Carol, and not by a Walker, but by Rick, in case she was to try something by the end of this episode. But that didn't happen either. So if you're looking for gore effects, zombie action, zombie terror, this is not one of those episodes. Instead, we get some highlights of character development. The main one is, of course, Rick and Carol, and how Rick it's dawning on him that Carol is no longer the person that she was before when he joined the group after he got out of the hospital back in the pilot. She's not the same anymore, and because she's not the same, he practically makes some form of pros and cons list in his head, and by the end of this episode, he makes the call to leave Carol behind. Now, it's not like he's leaving her on the street with nothing. No, she's got a car, she's got food, she's got water, she's got gas, and Rick is so certain that she is gonna make it on her own. She's gonna survive this world out there on her own, and it's not like she needs to be by herself because she deserves it, but he knows the consequences that are going to happen if he brings her back to the prison and they find out. I mean, it's a bit of a liability, but he knows that there's still shades of a good person in there. The old Carol, the mother-like Carol, that knows that because she has killed these people, she knows that she will have to accept her not being able to go back to the little girls, because she is still thinking of them, even though she is now also able to kill anybody instantly. And we know that because she doesn't even try to confront Rick after he makes his decision saying, I gotta leave you behind. She accepts it. I was, at any moment, I was expecting her to pull out that knife. I was just keeping my eye on that stupid knife, which is actually a pretty sweet knife. It's got those holes for the fingers so that it doesn't fall out of her hand. That's a pretty sweet looking knife. But my eyes were on that knife throughout that scene at the very end when Rick tells her that, yeah, you gotta go. But lo and behold, she doesn't try that. She actually takes the car that they find, the gas, the food, and says, okay, I know that I gotta go. I accept this. But with that, Carol hopes that Rick keeps in mind what she said earlier about him being a farmer, but not being just a farmer, alright? The world needs you to be different things at once. It needs you to be a caring mother like she was, but also someone who's willing to kill on instinct for the better of the group. The needs of the many outweighs the needs of the few, kind of thing. So I really like that scene where she says that, because it's true, you know, Rick can't just be a farmer. It also echoes back to what Daryl said about, hey, we kind of need you to be the leader again. Now, will Rick take this into consideration and actually put it into action once he gets back to the prison? And what is he going to tell the people, you know, about what happened to Carol? Is he going to lie and say, oh, she got eaten? Or he's going to tell the truth and say, she was the one who killed Karen and David, and I had to let her go. She's out on her own. She's still alive, but she's out on her own. And how will Daryl and Tyrese and anybody else in the prison react? I don't know. We're gonna have to wait until next episode, which is probably already out by the time this video goes up. And the other bits of character development were in the group that was out on the run for medical supplies. Daryl, Michonne, Stookie, and Tyrese. And I'm not a huge fan of how Tyrese is still very, like, you know, he still has somewhat of those suicidal tendencies that he had in last week's episode, the last episode where he was in the car and he just wanted to stay there. I really hope he snaps out of it soon. But what I did like is that his rage went ahead and snapped Michonne out of her chase to go after the governor. She has officially made the decision to just stay at the prison. Tyrese's rage made her open her eyes and think to herself, why am I still going after the governor if I'm angry? If I'm not angry anymore? So that she pretty much makes that decision. And I think that's kind of cool, because in this episode we get little hints of a cool personality to Michonne. Speaking of that, Michonne flirting with Daryl, it really brings out your eyes. I am officially shipping Michelle. Besides, one thing's for sure, Daryl and Carol, not gonna happen, at least not anytime soon. And then there's Stookie. His demon in a bottle returns. Of course, they go to a pharmacy or a little market, a gas station. I think it was a gas station. And lo and behold, he comes across... Actually, he does not come across... I was expecting him to come across the alcohol there, but he actually comes across it in the... What was it, a school? Yeah, I believe it was a school, because it looked like a classroom and they had all the medical supplies there, and that's where he finds the booze. And once again, his dormant alcoholism comes back to haunt him. He ends up taking the alcohol instead of actually looking for supplies and putting them in his bag, and this pisses Daryl off. This is probably the scariest you'll ever see Daryl be. I was actually kind of freaked out by him, but I was actually kind of glad, because once again Stookie annoyed me by letting his alcoholism get to him. Now, I understand that alcoholism is probably one of the hardest things to ever let go. I mean, it truly is a demon, so I guess in that sense I can cut Stookie some slack, but you know, if you must understand that a zombie apocalypse should manage to make you snap out of it. But I guess not even that can keep you away from liquor. And I guess what bothers me more about Stookie having a drinking problem is that so far the actor's not doing that great of a job portraying a former alcoholic. Like, if we actually saw him, you know, with suffering in his face from trying to not jump off the bandwagon, or fall off the bandwagon, like they call it, then I would understand. You know, if this was like some Leaving Las Vegas kind of performance from the guy in terms of his alcoholism, I would totally feel sympathetic for his character. But it's just not it's not reading very well with me, and that is kind of on the actor's part. So I guess, you know, it's just not written very well, and it's not being portrayed very well by the actor to make me care for Stookie and sympathize for Stookie. Instead, I just feel like this guy just has to snap out of it and get with the program. And I do feel like something that didn't need to be in this episode were the two red shirts that were in the house. Right when they appeared, I'm like, hey, red shirts! I will say, though, that the way they went out was kind of ominous and creepy, especially with that leg, and we could tell it's from the girl because they had that little compass tattoo. Yeah, that was actually kind of eerie, and there's a really good chance that the body that was being devoured was the girl's, because, I mean, with one leg, how can you... I mean, there's a good chance that the guy said, you're on your own, and he might have been the one who cut the girl's leg off so that he can get away. Granted, there were only 2 walkers. How can you not outrun 2 walkers? 2 in the entire area there. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Which is why I feel like maybe, just maybe, there's going to be some sort of explanation as to what happened with these 2. After all, Rick did tell them where they're holding up at the prison. So, who knows? They might be in cahoots with the governor. They might be, you know, they might have some other group with a greater threat from the comics that may introduce himself into this world. Who knows? But I guess only time will tell. For now, I think I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the girl's dead, the guy probably lived, and being that he was the one who went ahead and sacrificed what I believe is his girlfriend, then there might be a more ominous background to what is really going on here with these guys. Overall, this was more of a character progression episode rather than either story or any sort of big event, at least not until the end of the episode where Rick takes the decision to leave Carol behind. And how is this going to affect the group, and what will become of Carol? Will she make herself off into, will she find herself in the spin-off show? She might be in the spin-off show, who knows? But for now, I will say that this is actually a pretty good episode. It was written for the most part good. I mean, minus the way that Stooky's being written and portrayed. But overall, I thought it was a good episode. It just wasn't a great one. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.0 out of 10, which is a B-. And like I said, the next episode will probably have premiered by the time you watch this video, and my review will probably follow. But until then, I'll see you guys later.